He's back again. I see him more often than I see some family members. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, I see my family members more often, but he is a valued member of the team here at Pop Culture Cosmos. It is the man behind Honey Queen. Please be part of the Honey Queen scene. Honey Queen on Facebook. It is my good friend Noah Ian Fein. And Noah, let's talk some Scrooge, shall we?
Yeah, it's not the 30th anniversary, it's the 32nd, but it's one of these movies that I have a top 12 each year and I try to squeeze as many as I can in. And Scrooged is always in my top five. It was one of those films that nobody asked for or wanted, and yet somehow it just, because there's hundreds of possibly thousands of versions of Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol, right? But the question is there really a crappy one, or is the one tailor made for you?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you get the one that has the Victorian English in it, other times you get a modernized version of it, and sometimes you'll get the Jetsons, where Spacely just has to be good because if he's not, George will sue him back to the Stone Age and take it because Astro died from eating a robotic cat toy that had a sprocket in it. Or you have Animaniacs, and you get the idea where it's like a 10-minute segment. Scrooged, I mean, it's directed by Richard Donner, who has, well, he directed a Christmas movie, Lethal Weapon,
Yep. I was
and
just
he
going to
also
say that.
yeah, he also directed one of my favorite Twilight Zone episodes of all time with William Shatner, Nightmare 20,000 Feet, and of course he directed Superman 1 and 2. Scrooged is weird because I never thought he would direct this. It's always been a debate of why, because you have Danny Elfman's theme. I mean, this would be a year before we would get, or during the time we got Beetlejuice, and he would start to collaborate a little bit more with Burton, and this feels more like something Burton would handle than Donner. And as for Bill Murray, well, you don't direct him. You just stay out of his way. You just call the 1-800 number and you let him do whatever he wants to. However, what I found over the years, there was supposed to be a You'll Love It DVD edition that has never seen the light of day. It was supposed to come out in 2006 or 16, but for reasons today, Paramount refuses to release it. I don't know why. People have been talking about this movie more now than then, and I saw this one in theaters. And I have to tell you, you either saw it because of Bill Murray, or you just saw it because you were kind of, you know, programmed to see another version of Christmas Carol. I have to say, back in the 90s, there was a documentary about Frankenstein, which is the definitive version that you want to see in theaters. And a lot of people said it was Young Frankenstein. And this is during the time that Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was coming out with Kenneth Branagh. But I have to say, with all the versions of Christmas Carol, this, I don't know if it's the definitive, but
To
if
me,
you're
it's the most
going,
enjoyable and the one that
yeah,
I will see the most. Let's put it that way.
yeah, if you're gonna mix without cramming it down and scaring straight, it's definitely the most rewatchable. Because I was debating about the Jim Carrey version. I did watch that the other day as well. But my problem is that it's Victorian English. They scare him straight and then some, and they try to make it funny once or twice, and it just doesn't work. Especially that motion capture that unfortunately bankrupted Zemeckis after Mars Needs Moms bombed. So what do we have left? Well, you either have Mickey's Christmas Carol, or you have Scrooged, or you have Albert Finney, or you have, I can go on and on. But the reason why this one works so well is that he's not miserly. He's just bitter and antisocial, which you'll see with his past. And that's thanks to Brian Doyle Murray playing the brother, and the ghosts. The ghosts in this movie are the scene stealers. You have Buster Poindexter, David Johansen as a ghost of Christmas past, who uses this cab time DeLorean thing to go back in time. You have Carol Kane Simca from Taxi, who is the Ghost of Christmas Present, where she's supposed to be this insane version of Glinda the Good Witch from Wizard of Oz. And you still have Ghost of Christmas Future yet to come, that's still death, even though I believe in the original book, it's supposed to be a shadow that eventually turns into the Grim Reaper once Scrooge goes to the graveyard. But that's always been a debate if the ghosts are really Scrooge's subconscious. And that's, it's one six half dozen of the other. But I love the design of the Ghost of Christmas Future because not only is it the Grim Reaper, but when you undo the robe, you have like these little puppets that are like trapped in its skeletal chain, skeletal system. It's great makeup, great effects, and I believe this was the last film for John Forsythe, as well as um, the guy. Hold on, I'm sorry, the narrator of supposed to be Scrooge while they're doing the movie. John Gielgud, is that it?
John Gigluk, yeah.
Yeah,
I know who you're talking about.
yeah, he passed away shortly after
I think
the
it's
film
Sir
was
John
finished.
Gigluk.
So
I could be wrong.
yes, it is. Yes, I think kids of the '80s will probably know him best for doing those commercials. Like people make money the hard way; they earned it. But you have to really go back and watch his career as well. Yes, he did have, from what I understand, he did have a lot of fun making this movie, but sadly, this was his final role. As for there seems to be a lot of controversy with Donner and Murray not getting along, which is nothing new.
What a shock.
Yeah, and because Murray said that Donner kept making him act more cartoony and yell and scream, and it kind of shows. Also, Bobcat Goldthwait is in this movie, and unfortunately, he did not realize that Sam Kinison was supposed to be the Ghost of Christmas Past, but Bill Murray was fighting for David Johansen. And apparently, if you Google the Howard Stern show in the 80s, there was a fight between Bobcat and Sam that Sam thought that Bobcat did not want Sam Kinison on the set for Scrooged. And it's this really interesting little fight. As well as one of the screenwriters was upset, saying that this movie was torn to pieces, and when it was finished, it was crap. But I have to say, it has aged over the years. I have yet to have one person come up to me and hate this movie. There's a lot of great social commentary about, like I said, instead of being Marsley, he's a TV president whose career is entirely on the line. And that seems to be a lot more modern, and it seems to work a lot better than a guy in his 50s or 60s that's in love with money. Also, he gets a second chance with the girl, which is played, of course, by Karen Allen. Everybody pretty much knows her from Marion from the Indiana Jones series, and she's great in this. A lot of people mistook her for Margaret Kidder because Richard Donner directed Superman's 1 and 2, but no, it's Karen Allen. She's great. There's chemistry between these two. I can't say. I know we were on a time limit, unfortunately, but I can't say any more. If you've not seen this film, although if you've read A Christmas Carol, you pretty much know how it's going to go. But I have to say right now, if you want to,
it's the best rendition, I think.
Yeah, it's the best rendition. And I think it's easy to get off of AMC, or if you want to, just get it off of Amazon Prime for $7. It's worth it. It's definitely worth your time. Oh, and of course, we have a new version of Bob Cratchit and Tiny Tim, which is very heartwarming. It's different than the other versions. And I don't want to give too much away, but I think this is one of the smarter versions of how they made this character of Tiny Tim. And that's always been a debate. Other than that, though, it's definitely in my 12 Christmas films. It's definitely number 2. What beat it, unfortunately, was a year later with National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. You can't blame me. But,
no, it's one of my favorites too. Of course, I've said my favorite of all time, and I will battle people to the death on this one, is Die Hard, which is the best Christmas movie of all time. Thank you very much. But I'm just kidding, my friend. But yes, it is my favorite of all time. And I want to close out with this. I want to ask you, if I may, Kevin Hart is supposedly involved and attached to a remake of this, and you asked earlier this week why when you're talking about all these remakes, and you and I both know why. It all comes down to dollars. It all comes down to a safer, sure bet. Now, obviously, we've seen some of these remakes not pan out, but again, it's a safer bet to these studios for content that's out there. Your thoughts on a Kevin Hart, who is obviously a very wanted individual out there in Hollywood. He's a leading spokesperson for several products out there. Obviously, he's been a part of some very hit comedies over the past few years. I know you're not, I can see the shaking of your head, but again, attached. Do you want to, okay, Kevin Hart or not, do you like the idea of it being remade? Because you know Hollywood was going to do it eventually. I mean, the Christmas Carol story is going to be told again and again and again, but the Scrooge part of it, that eventually had to be remade as well.
No, because you know what? I think it's more of a contract thing than a Kevin Hart thing. I love him, but the problem is, again, if it's under contract, look, he remade 3 O'Clock High with Fist Fight, I think. No, he wasn't part of that. I'm sorry. What was it? Summer School, I think that's what it was, or Night School, or something. It's something that he had it remade from the 80s. The point is that all these 80s comedies are being remade, and it's just taking it through a copier and getting a crappy copy. Again, it's more of a contract thing than it is blaming the star. And to make a quick buck, and it's a tax write-off. I'm not going to blame him. I'm blaming the studio. If you want to make another version of Scrooge, which a lot of people have, even with Susan Lucci as Scrooge, I'm okay with that. But to remake Scrooged, no, there's no possible. I don't really see. He's no Bill Murray, and let Kevin Hart be Kevin Hart in a Christmas Carol version. You can't just remake. It's like trying to remake Blazing Saddles, and I don't think you're going to be able to do that. So no, I really I can go on and on. I don't have the time, but I think it's just it's not the right. There's certain
I know,
actors,
my friend. I know.
certain roles, and certain writers. And it's honest, first of all, the last thing I'm going to say was that scared straight campaign that Bill Murray creates in the beginning of the film, or that the night the reindeer died, and those other shows I can't talk about on here. Um, you can't do that today. Even in the 80s when that was made, when Scrooge went on WPX broadcast television, they had to cut that entire thing out because of censorship. So I don't really see, with people being offended so much today, I don't see how this is going to work. So no.
There you go, my friend. Always a great time to talk to you about Scrooge or anything else that's out there in the world of pop culture. But it is my good friend Noah Ian Fein from Honeyqueen. Please, Bart, be part of the conversation today at Honeyqueen on Facebook, or also the Honeyk Outcasts. It is truly always a great time talking to you. I know you're going to hit me up asking to talk about more great subjects in pop culture, and you know the door's always open. You know that red carpet's always there for you. And as I joked to someone the other day, I've got that vacuum already making sure I'm cleaning up all the lint for you, so the red carpet's nice and prepped for you to come on in to talk anything about pop culture, because you're always welcome, my friend, to do so.
Well, I think Christmas is coming early for a lot of us. I don't know who's talking about Wonder Woman, but I am going to watch that this Friday. So I have some thoughts on this one, some interesting thoughts. And eventually with the Snyder Cut, because we did discuss Justice League a few years ago. So definitely that. And I'm curious about WandaVision. I know other people are talking about it, if I can, eventually give my 2 cents, but we will get there when we get there.
You know you're always welcome to.
Yeah, I thank you. Everyone else out there, we're 3 weeks away. And I know we're still a few months away from the vaccinations, but please, we're going to be okay. Just, I know I keep bombarding with you with this, but I know that everything's been stressed, and I'm not going to get political, and I know it's hard, but trust me, it's only going to get better. Just trust me on this. So everybody, I know the tension, and I know with the holidays and with the vaccinations and with the virus, I give it a few more months, crossing fingers. But stay safe and happy holidays.
Stay safe and happy holidays to you and your family as well, and to everyone out there watching and listening. May you have the best and safest of holidays as well. Once again, it is my friend, my true friend, Noah Ian Fein, from the Hunnic Outcast. You got to be part of the conversation today at the Hunnic Outcast, and also as well Hunnic Ween on Facebook. Look for it today. He's got always some great ideas popping there for pop culture. Always love his opinions. Always love the fact that he's got out there going ahead and sharing his thoughts on pop culture. But we also like him sharing his thoughts, as always, right here at the Pop.